Okay, welcome back. Part two, the most important Google Ads metrics going into 2023. This recording is of November 29th, 2022, and we got some pretty cool stuff. In the previous video, we talked about recommended columns and performance columns. There's a lot of subsections to go through, so we're just going to keep going. Setup. Let's get right into it. This says new. So, setup, what does this really mean? So, again, the point of these videos, especially with columns, is to really understand the different applications and, which ones make sense, which ones make sense to test in new columns. How does it fit in with the current marketing and reporting? What type of campaign should you use this stuff from? Should you use it at all? I got this handy dandy template here. I'll say this is part one. We only had a couple points for part one. Not a whole lot of takeaways there. Now we're going to get into part two. So let's do it. So, what do we got? Number of eligible ads, number of disapproved ads, number of eligible keywords, number of disapproved keywords, number of eligible ad groups, eligible RSAs, ad strength details. Number of eligible site links, number of eligible site links upgraded, number of eligible images. Okay, so there's a lot of numbers in here, and it's really just eligibility. So where would this be applicable? It's under the setup column. So maybe if you were running an account that had a lot of automation built into it and you didn't have a lot of control manually of the ad copy, and everything was kind of templated out. These are for I would look at this more for like a large agency, that has certain contracts with franchises, franchise maybe not franchises, but certain contracts with um, corporations that have franchises, and they need to roll a bunch of campaigns out for like 100 franchises, let's say. This stuff would be important. If you're running individual campaigns and you have a lot of manual input in each account, I don't think a lot of this is going to be really important, because you'll know if all your ads are approved or disapproved. When you're making the little nitty gritty detailed changes, you're going to know and want to know a bunch of this stuff, right? Not to say to not use it, but when you first launch an account, let's say, and maybe you have a lot of campaigns, this setup column and maybe just a column, a saved column format under setup actually would make a lot of sense, especially when you are setting up an account for the first time. I could see that. I mean, it might be helpful. I don't know. I'm just not used to it. So I don't know if I'd really use this or not, but it's interesting to know that they're there. So a couple applications for setup. We could say setup, applications, examples, rolling out accounts for major company. Like maybe you're doing, and I've had to do campaigns like this where we were responsible for 50 plus local businesses, and then we had to launch them all at once, and they were all templated. Like, local plumber for, i.e., local plumber for 50 different cities. That would be an example you would use that. Also, you could use that when setting up new accounts, right? So when you first launch a new account, maybe you just use all these setup features and you just have a setup column to make sure all the stuff is approved the way you want it. Again, I don't know. I've been doing Google Ads for almost a decade, and I don't think I'd be using this. This is interesting, though. Ad strength details shows a breakdown of the ad strength ratings across all of your responsive search ads. So the ad strength, I believe, is that new little, not really new anymore. RSAs have been around for a while, but that gauge when you're making RSAs to determine your ad strength. Like, do you have all do you have all your headlines and descriptions and everything filled out? So that might be interesting. Um, and I bet you that relates to quality score. So I'm going to write this down. So columns to explore. I'm going to say add strength details. And actually, I really want to. I get anal about this kind of organization of my bullet points. I don't know why. It's just. I don't know. All right. Anyways, I digress. That is setup. So I'm going to go away from setup. Viewability. Okay. Interesting. And we're back. So, viewability. We got viewable impressions, non viewable impressions, measurable impressions, non measurable impressions. Measurable cost, measurable rate, average viewable CPM, viewable CTR, viewable impressions distributed, non viewable impressions distributed, non measurable impression distributed, viewable rate. Okay, so I'm going to say viewability is mostly for higher to mid funnel networks. So this is on first glance. So let's go here. Oops. Viewability, higher, I'll say medium to high funnel campaign types, i.e., display network, YouTube. That's where we're getting the views. So let's see. Viewable impressions shows the number of times an ad was viewable. An ad is viewable when at least 50% of its area is visible for 1 second for display network ads or 2 seconds for video ads. Okay, see? So in the end of the definition, any viewable impression directly correlates to the display network or video ads. So this is an impression, but it actually has to be, like not just something that loaded and no one looked at. So non-viewable impressions, I'm going to guess, is the opposite. Shows the number of times your ad was considered non-viewable. An ad is non-viewable when it doesn't have at least 50% of its area visible for at least 1 second for display network ads or 2 seconds for video ads. This is interesting. I would like to look at viewable and non-viewable comparison within display. So like my columns to explore, can't spell, viewable versus non-viewable impressions. That's really cool. Because then you could see, what would that tell you? So if you have a big, if your non-viewable impressions are larger than your viewable impressions, that would tell me if it's on the display network, the placement isn't right, the audience setting isn't quite right. Really about the placement, because the placement is going to help you determine, like if it's viewed or not. It'll give you insight to whether the placement is working or not. So that's actually pretty interesting. So measurable impressions represents the number of times your ad appeared in locations on website or apps that could be measured. So that's cool. That's kind of more general. Represents the number of times your ad appeared in locations on websites and apps that could be measured for viewability. So what's the difference between measurable impressions and viewable impressions? Shows the number of times an ad was viewable. An ad is viewable when at least 50% of its area is visible for 1 second. Measurable represents the number of times your ad appeared in locations on websites or apps that could be measured for viewability. So, oh my God, we could make a whole video just on impressions. Like, and honestly, I might have to because this is kind of complicated. This is basically what I'm seeing. We have impressions. I'm gonna. I don't even know where to put this. Impressions versus viewable. I think it's really measurable. Ah. Versus viewable impressions. They're all different. Impressions is an impression. It loaded. Doesn't mean you see it, doesn't mean it was able to be measured. Measurable impressions is basically an impression that can be measured for viewability because not all of them can, I guess. Okay, that kind of makes sense. So when something loads, depending upon how it loads, or the browser or the tracking, Google can determine whether or not the the user hovers over that for 50% of the time or 2 seconds or not. It's like we look at Google Analytics and we see all the tracking and data. Well, there are lags in Google Analytics. It doesn't count every single user in the face of the earth that visits your website. So basically, what measurable impressions is comparing these are all the impressions that you got. These are all the ones that we could determine if they're viewable or not. That's what measurable is. And then viewable impressions is okay, now that it's a measurable impression, viewable is they have to be at least 50% loaded by the user or 2 seconds for the video to go through. So it's really just a network, it's really just like a funnel of impressions. So I'm thinking a viewable impression has to also be a measurable impression, but measurable impressions don't necessarily have to be viewable impressions. Yeah, something like that. I want to make, I gotta make like a whole video series on impressions. Oh my God, there's so many different metrics to look at. Nobody's looking like showing this stuff either. It's like freaking crazy. Okay, so I think we got that. Measurable cost. Let me guess. It's the actual impressions served that are measurable that we can associate costs with. The total cost of all impressions that appeared in locations on websites or apps that could be measured for viewability. So to be a measurable impression means it's either a viewable impression or a non-viewable impression. If it's not a measurable impression, it's just an impression. Oh my God. People are going to get lost with that. I like, whatever, Google. This is really cool though, because it shows about how much Google has like advanced in its tracking capabilities. So it's very, very interesting. But I mean, I love that they hover over and have the definitions, but if I didn't go through and play with my columns and metrics and things like that, I wouldn't know this. And it's really cool that we can see it. So, measurable rate, that's just the rate. I'm guessing it's measurable impressions divided by impressions, I'm thinking. Measurable rate represents a percentage of total impressions that appeared in locations on websites and apps. It could be measured for viewability. Total impressions include both impressions that are measurable and non-measurable. So you have impressions, and then you have measurable impressions. Measurable impressions divided by impressions is the measurable rate. Makes sense. Average viewable CPM. So I'm going to guess if it's viewable, your CPM is going to be higher than a normal CPM. Average viewable CPM is the average amount you've been charged for 1,000 viewable impressions. Viewable impressions is one Google can designate whether someone interacted with it. A measurable impression is whether Google Ads can tell if someone either interacted or didn't interact with it. and just an impression is everything. So there's a gap that the metric that they don't have. Well, they do have it. It's called non measurable impressions and non viewable. It's interesting. Viewable CTR. I mean, it's click through rate. Now we're just taking like different determinations and different measurements of it. So, but why wouldn't they have average measurable CPM? Why would they not have that if they have all this other stuff? Why would you only have average viewable CPM? Why can't you have average measurable CPM? I can't answer that question. Google? That's what I thought. Viewable impression distributed. All right, so what is distributed? I'm assuming that's distribution. I knew something. So, represents the percentage of your total ad impressions that were considered viewable. How does that differ from viewable impression distribution? Represents the percentage of your total ad impressions, okay, that were considered viewable. So basically, it's just I don't know why they call it distribution. It's basically taking your viewable impressions divided by your overall impressions. Total impressions include both measurable and non-measurable impressions. This differs from viewable rate, which only includes measurable impressions. Yeah, that makes sense. Viewable rate only takes into account measurable impressions. Man, they really made this difficult to understand. We need to simplify this. So when we come here, measurable impression is basically, let's go like this. Thinking about how to define this. Impression, measurable impression, viewable impressions. Oh boy, what's going on? So impressions, I'm going to unhighlight this. Impressions is basically when an ad loads on the page. The user does not have to see it or click on it for the ad to be counted as an impression. Impression doesn't really mean much. Now, measurable impression, when an ad loads on the page and Google can determine whether or not Google can determine whether or not it's measurable. Can determine whether or not it's viewable or it's measurable. It can be measured for viewability. Assess for viewability. This can help you understand your ad's viewable rate. So basically, not it's measured for viewability. So it's basically whether or not an ad could be viewable or could not be viewable. But if it's non-measurable, it cannot be determined whether it's viewable or not. So then a viewable impression, when an ad loads on the page and the user either had at least 50% of the ad load on their screen of visibility for the display or display number, or at least 2 seconds of a video ad has played. How cool is that? An impression is not just an impression anymore. Basically, this measurable impressions is whether Google can determine if it's viewable or not. That's really what that is. Impression is anything that loads on the page. Measurable impressions is out of that, not out of that. How many impressions can Google determine whether it's viewable or not? And then viewable impressions is okay. Uh, um, how many ads were viewable? How many weren't? Makes sense. It's kind of complicated. Okay. The distributed distribution is basically just a rate. It's a rate of the total. Viewable impressions distribution is like your rate. Compare your rate of viewable impressions to your overall impressions. Non-viewable impressions is your rate of non-viewable impressions to your overall impressions. Um, Non-viewable impressions distributed, non-measurable, and they have a non-measurable. Or do they have a measurable impression distribution? No. I guess you to find that you would just do the total impressions minus the total the total distribution minus that would get you the measurable impression distribution. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Why would they not complete it? Whatever. And then you have viewable rate. Ah, columns to explore. I do think lining up takeaways from this. I do think lining up um, impressions. I would start impressions and then measurable impressions and then viewable impressions and see what the difference is, right? Let it just start there because then you could say, oh, I had 10,000 impressions, but I really only had 8,000 measurable impressions and 6,000 were actually viewable. That means 2,000 were non viewable and 2,000 were non measurable. So I had 4,000 out of my 10,000 impressions non viewable. Well, does an impression really matter unless someone saw it? See, that's actually cool insight. If I had in this example, impressions equal 10K, measurable impressions equal 8K, and then viewable impressions equal 6K. Well, determination, blah, I gotta spell better. Determination only 4K, no, no, 4K out of 10K impressions are junk because because people most likely did not see them. You know, that's basically what that's saying. So you can make the argument that okay, if it's measurable impressions but not viewable, maybe they did see it, but you just don't know. That's why you got to track all three. Anyways, we've spent enough time on this. La la la. Let's get out of viewability and let's go into Jesus. There's so many attribution and blah 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 attribution. This is going to be like a 6-part video series. Attribution. What do we have? Conversions, cost per conversion, conversion rate, conversion value, value over conversion. I never really understood that. I never use that one. Conversion value over click. I never use that one either. Conversion value over cost. Absolutely. So notice that each one of these say current model. So let's get in the conversions. Columns to explore. I'm going to say everything is defined as current model. So what that really means and how that's different from your normal conversion. I'm sorry, this isn't conversions. Skipped over conversions. I went straight to attribution. I think we should back up. This is really attribution. I'm sorry, guys. So let's go back. So if we go to conversions, I mean, these are your simple ones, right? Conversions, that's if someone converted. It's how you set it up. Cost per conversion, I mean, it's pretty standard. Conversion rate, out of how many people saw your ad, how many people converted. Conversion value, that's revenue and e-com. Conversion value over cost is return on ad spend. Conversion value over click, I don't really, when would you use that? So let's say you basically would define how much a click is worth. That's what this is. Conversion value per click is the average conversion value of your ad interaction. I gotta move my face. Conversion value per click is the average conversion value of your ad interaction. It's your conversion value divided by the number of ad interactions. Ad interactions include clicks and other interactions such as engaged views of a video ad. This metric doesn't include clicks that couldn't lead to conversions, such as those that happen when you aren't using conversion tracking. This is basically if you want to define how much a click is worth or how much an engagement or interaction is worth. That's what that is. I never really use it because I don't really care what a click is worth. I just want the revenue. I kind of use that if I want to know how much a click is worth. I'm only because a click doesn't sell me. It's not going to convert. That's why I always use if I want to know how much a click is worth, I'm going to look at average cost per click because that's how much I have to pay for. You know, it's just a different methodology. You could maybe use it. Maybe I'll use it in the future. I don't know. Value over conversion. So you're defining anything with what's value? Is approximately how much an average each of your conversion is worth. So anything value over something is defining how much that over something is worth. Conversion value over click or value over click is basically saying how much is all your clicks worth, how much are all your conversions worth, and how much is your cost worth, which is how much is your advertising, which is how much return you're getting. What's value adjustment? Not even Google knows. What is value adjustment? Guys, I don't know. Change the value of conversions based on customer lifetime value. That is when customers and consequently their conversions become more valuable or less valuable to your business based on their purchase history. So basically, we're taking the value figure from a conversion and seeing what the change is in a given date range. That might be pretty interesting to see. I'm going to include that value adjustment. Interesting. So columns to explore. Value adjustment, comparing what a conversion is worth, a specific conversion is worth, like add to cart, purchase, begin. I don't think it would really make sense with purchase because you already know what the purchase is going to be worth with conversion value or with revenue. So, but an add to cart, this is interesting. I'm getting actually more convinced on value over cost. Right? Is that what I'm getting convinced on? Value over conversion. I'm getting more interested on value over conversion because over conversion. How much a conversion is worth. I don't know how they're determining that. How do you its value? Maybe I'm thinking about this wrong. It's approximately how much on average each of your conversions is worth. It's the conversion value divided by conversion. I'm trying to. This is interesting. That this would be like defining how much a add to cart is worth. If your conversions have different values, this metric shows their average. It's like how much is an add to cart worth? I don't know. That's why these are interesting. So I'm going to say the following metrics are interesting because they may help define what a conversion without a value is worth by comparing said conversion to the value. So, like, i.e., this could help determine how much an add to cart is worth in dollars. That's cool. That's super cool. So I'm highlighting these bad boys, and we're going to play with that. Okay, back to it. Oh my God, look how many there are. Holy shit. All right, we'll finish conversions. I was only thinking it's here. Like, oh my God. This one also intrigues me. New customer lifetime value. How is Google calculating a lifetime value? Like how the F is that happening? Oh, it's commonly searched thing about the new customer acquisition goal. Wow. Let's see here. Bid higher for new customers than existing. Only bid for new customers. Limit ads to customers who are in business. Limit ads to only customers who are new to your business as determined based on historical purchasing and existing customer lists if you have uploaded. So I wonder, this lifetime value, is there any other lifetime value? All new customer lifetime value. Look at that. They have average order value, average cart size. Holy shnikey. New customers, purchase conversions. Holy crap. They have COGS in here? Cost of goods sold is the total amount of business costs that are attributed. Revenue minus COGS equals gross profit. Do you have to enter that? How are they supposed to know that? This one, I'm assuming. Oh my God. I mean, here, we got to write some of this down. New customer lifetime value, COGS, gross profit. Yeah. How is Google determining gross COGS? How is Google determining COGS? Cost of goods sold or bought is adjusted according to change in inventory. But this isn't in Google. Does Google have cost of goods sold? The information that you share with Google regarding COGS is for reporting purposes. It does not need to be exact. You need only to provide a rough estimate of your actual COGS. All right, so this is something you manually enter in order to get an indication of how much profit you make through conversions. Okay, where would I enter it? You can do it on a product basis. Wow. So like you take your CMS, you add an extra column of a COGS column, you could push that to Google and then you can look at all your gross profit per product. Holy cow, that's pretty insane. I keep hovering over that. How am I going to look through 30 minutes and fix that? What the F? That's crazy. All right, I'm getting sidetracked. So we talked about all this stuff. Conversions. All right, here's the interesting by conversion time. That I want to look at too, because the difference is shows your conversion count based on the day a conversion occurred. The conversion occurred. Here's the difference. If you have conversion versus conversion by time, conversion is going by when the click happened. When did the click happen for it to convert? Conversions by time shows you conversion count based on the day a conversion happened. So if I have a 7-day window and I clicked on the ad day 1 and didn't convert to I clicked on the ad on day 3 but converted on day 8. On my 7-day window, my conversions by time, from that 7-day window, I would not show anything. But if I was just looking at conversions, I would show on day 3. Because I converted on day 8, but I clicked on the ad at day 3. Depending about what your look back window is. Oh God, I'm just thinking about certain accounts right now and certain campaigns. And yeah, that'd be good to know. So conversions by time. Let's say conversion metrics by time. Damn, this video is going to be longer than I thought. So basically, it's all conversion by time. What's all this stuff? It's all. Everything is all conversion instead of just normal conversion. And basically, what that means it's using any conversion value that you have entered in the entirety of your account. Normal conversion value versus all conversion value. So all conversion values, any conversion that you used in your account, conversion value is the one that you're setting. So let's take, it's really when you set, like, okay, let's say you're tracking conversion value in GTag, raw on your site, universal analytics, and GA4. I'm hoping that not all three of those are primary for you. One of them should be primary and the other two are secondary. I usually make it where GTag or through GTM, where the raw Google Ads code, conversion tracking code is hard coded on the site. That is the most accurate representation I've seen and most consistent. And then I have the other two, but they're secondary. They're not used for bidding. So all conversion value would show me all of them, and conversion value would just show me my primary, the one that's being counted. That should be an accurate representation. So that is all conversion value versus conversion value. I can put that in the document for you guys. All conversion value versus conversion value. So all conversion value includes reporting on all the conversions. All the conversions that have value associated with them in the account. Conversion value includes reporting on all the conversions that have value as long as they are, I think, as long as they're primary. The total number of conversions that the Google Ads measures for each conversion action includes what's in your conversions column plus additional data such as conversions that are marked as primary actions. So I was right. All conversion includes what's in your conversions column plus additional data such as conversions that have their include in conversion setting unchecked. So whether you're tracking them as conversions or they're not primary. So conversion value includes reporting all conversions that have value as long as they are set to have value, are included in conversion reporting, and are marked as primary. Yeah, getting complex, guys. All right, so that kind of takes all those because it's just all the same. And then we have a lot of other stuff here. We have orders, we have average cart size, average order value. This metric is going to be average cart size is the average number of products in a cart. Wow, it's crazy that you can see that. From a marketing standpoint, you could usually see it on the CMS, but all these metrics here, crazy. Cost of goods sold, gross profit, revenue, cross sell, cost of goods sold. What's that? Is the total amount of business costs that are attributed to selling products as a result of advertising a different product. That's interesting. Cross sell, cost of goods sold. I don't really need a cross sell COGS. I need a just cross sell stuff, cross sell units sold, cross sell revenue. That's cool. I'd like to learn a little bit more about cross sell. I wonder if that could be applied to different applications too. See, guys, I don't know everything. I'm just kind of going through it with you. If anybody's sticking around for these 40 minutes, geez, you're really dedicated. Lead cost of goods sold. What's that? Is the total amount of business costs that are attributed to selling a product as a result of advertising the product is a formula. Lead revenue minus lead gross profit. I don't know what is this associating a value to a lead? Is the total amount of revenue generated from selling a product as a result of advertising the product? Lead revenue equal lead gross profit plus lead COGS. Lead gross profit. Interesting. Lead units sold. Total number of products sold as a result of advertising the product. So I guess this lead part only takes into account if they sold the product, only if you advertise. If you sold the product but didn't advertise, doesn't count. But wouldn't that count as conversion value? Anyways, whatever. I'm getting lost here. Cross-device conversion might be cool. That might be very interesting. Are conversions that are counted when a customer interacts with that on one device and converts on a different? Metric shows that your ads influence conversions that happen across multiple devices, regardless of your including conversion settings. Cross-device. That's cool. Cross-sell, cross-device. Almost done with this video, guys. Wow. And then they have all the breakouts of it. View through conversion. Are conversions that are occurred when users view but don't interact with an ad, then later convert. That is very cool. The view through conversion is really, really good for YouTube and video campaigns. When they're viewing the ad, they didn't do anything with it, but at some other point in time in your window, they convert. That is cool. View through conversion. Oh my God. We still have more. New customers. Number of people who clicked on one of your ads and purchased something online from your website or app for the first time within the last 540 days. Yep. New customers. We're going to look at view through. God, I love this stuff. So cool. Purchase conversion. Purchase conversions is the number of conversions in the conversions column that are assigned to the purchase category. Okay, that makes sense. It's just purchase conversions. And purchase value is total value of the conversions in the conversions column that are assigned to the purchase. Oh, that's like if you, this actually makes sense. I assigned an arbitrary value to a sign-up form for one of my clients, but it was an arbitrary value. That's not a purchase value. That's just like what it would theoretically mean to the business. It didn't actually happen. So that's what purchase conversion and purchase value are. Okay, this was a lot. I'm going to stop now. But I'm going to see you guys on the next installment because we have more columns to go through. This one was a biggie because conversions are important. See you in part 3.